As you know, these numbers do jump around a little bit from day to day, and there's sometimes a few little corrections that are made. There are 29 people in hospital, including 12 in intensive care. There have been 88,000 tests completed over this global pandemic here in Victoria, which is a really significant increase in the total amount of testing that we've been doing. And that is why there's reason for such confidence in these numbers. More testing, yet very, very stable results. If we continue to see these sorts of results, then we are going to have options that would be denied to us if we didn't have this virus fundamentally under control. So I thank every single Victorian for doing the right thing. I thank every single Victorian who's out there making really significant sacrifices to deliver these stable numbers, to deliver an effective suppression strategy. The alternative, as we know only too well, is many thousands of people dying and some of the horrific scenes that we've seen in other parts of the world. Of course, it's frustrating, it's very challenging. Nobody's enjoying having to go through these sorts of restrictions to their normal daily life, but the strategy is working, and that is something that every Victorian should be proud of, and it's certainly something that I'm grateful for. We're all sticking together, we're all in this together, and because we're working together, looking out for each other, doing the right things in a collective sense, then we've got some really impressive collective success. And there are so many other countries around the world that would swap with us very, very quickly. They'd be only too pleased to have these sorts of numbers as opposed to the terrible scenes that they're having to manage every single day. Now, I'm joined by the Treasurer today to take you through some modelling that the Department of Treasury and Finance have done for us. This is very much in keeping with regular reports that we've had from Dr. Kennedy from the Federal Treasury and Dr. Lowe, the Governor of the Reserve Bank. What this modelling shows is that this is not only the biggest health challenge that Victoria has faced in living memory, it is also the biggest economic and employment challenge that our state has faced perhaps ever. This is very, very significant. There is an enormous amount of damage that has been done to the Victorian economy that is unavoidable. If we don't get our health problem fixed, if we don't get the health challenge dealt with appropriately, then we'll in fact see even more economic damage. If this gets away from us, there'll be a very large cost both in terms of lives and jobs and the very fabric of our community and indeed the Victorian economy beyond that. What this modelling shows, it's very sobering, it's very significant, that we've got a long road ahead of us of rebuilding, recovery, and as stark as this modelling is, it does, I think, present a really clear case for why the measures we're putting before the Parliament tomorrow need to pass and need to pass in good time. And then, of course, we will all need to work very, very hard together as one Victorian community to support, led by the government, of course, to support every worker, every family, every business, every sector that is bearing the biggest brunt and carrying the heaviest load as a result of this global pandemic. These numbers in terms of unemployment, reduced growth in our and indeed a very significant economic contraction here in Victoria, as well as the impact on house prices. Tim will take you through each of these different data sets, but it just shows us all that we have a very, very long way to go. Now, just before I throw to Tim, these numbers today, with just 2 more cases, the stability that we've brought to this because we've all been following the rules, we've all taken this seriously, we've all known and understood that if it got away from us, it'd be very hard to pull it back. They are fragile. And if we relax restrictions too quickly and too broadly, then we will be back where we were 2 or 3 weeks ago, with the number of cases doubling every few days and even stricter lockdowns necessary. That's what has occurred in other countries. So it's not just a matter of opinion or modelling, it's the real experience in too many places around the world where they thought they had this under control. They eased off restrictions only to then have to employ even tougher lockdowns after that. If we keep this performance going, though, if people keep doing the right thing, if people have that same sense of urgency and give this the importance that it absolutely deserves and demands, then we will have options in a few weeks' time and we will be able to look very carefully at those options. Let's not give back all the progress we've made. Let's certainly not close off those options by thinking that this is over and that relative stability in our case numbers means we can go back to normal. We simply can't. We've all got to keep following the rules. so that in a few weeks' time we've got some options to ease some of these measures. But I do, again, I'm happy to try and give people that very real sense of hope, because there is hope here. But at the same time, I don't want to be making promises that can't be kept, and I certainly don't want to be sending a message to any Victorian that this is over. This is going to run for months, and the recovery will take years. But I think as a state, as a community, as an economy, as a government, we are equal to that task. And we will stand with everyone who is affected by this global pandemic. The measures in the Parliament tomorrow are a critical part of that. They follow the very firm views and advice of Federal Treasury, the Governor of the Reserve Bank. They are the smart and right thing to do. Borrow to build that bridge to the other side of this pandemic, and then work really, really hard every day, just as we always have, to grow jobs, to build confidence, to get things done. That's what's going to be more important than ever. Just finally, we've got the biggest construction agenda in our nation, and certainly the biggest in our state's history. That's going to need to get bigger. We're going to need to do more in road and rail, hospitals and schools. We're going to need to do more in skills and training, so a strong TAFE system, never been more important. But it'll need to change and go to another level as well. There are many different ways in which the government will work so hard to stand with every single worker, family and business that has been touched by this. This is through no fault of their own. We have no choice but to lock down these large sections of the economy, otherwise thousands of people will die. This success is a testament to the fact that Victorians are sticking together, and that we're all in this together, and that we have to stay the course. Let's give ourselves some options to relax in some areas in a few weeks' time. Let's not fritter away all these gains, but let's not be in any doubt either. There's going to be a lot of pain and a really big job to rebuild, but we're equal to that task. We're at our best when we lead the nation, and we came into this crisis with a AAA-rated budget, with an economy that was the envy of so many, not just in Australia, but right around the world, the strongest balance sheet in our nation. That allows us and gives us some options to support those who are doing it tough. And it's a broader point. We are at our best when we lead our country, and that is exactly what we'll be doing on the other side of this virus.